Hello everyone, my name is Chaoran Wang. I'm from Group UG21. Today I'm going to do a code review for our group project. I'm going to review our code based on these four aspects: code, variables, data memory, and error handling. Firstly, let's look at the code. We have finished the components that are needed for milestone 1. Those components are logically correct and can perform intended operations. However, we did not implement all components in our design, because some components such as color sensor and record buttons are for the next milestone. Our code is also well structured. Figure 3 shows that the structure of a project is really clean. Figure 4 shows that our code has consistent style, clean structure, format, and correct indentations. Our code actually follows the Google Java style guide. Now let's talk about the comments. Figure 5 shows that we have comments in each interface that explain the purpose of each function. Figure 6 shows that we included some comments for some key parts. Our comments are informative and consistent with our code. Actually, we do not have comments for every key parts. We will add comments for other parts before the next milestone. In our code, we have an uncalled function print map in the move to point class. This function is for the future development. We do not have any unneeded procedures or unreachable code in other files. In our code, there are some repeated blocks of code. For example, in Figure 8 and Figure 9, those two pieces of code are actually very similar. We can condense them into a single function. We will do this in the next milestone. Our code is also testable. Every function has a separate job and can be used by test frameworks. You can check out those examples in Figure 10 and Figure 11. There are few dependencies in each object, and every object can be initialized. In our code, move to point module is quite complex and has many functions. We can move some functions into the movement module before the next milestone. Now let's talk about the variables. In our code, we use the camel case naming convention to name all variables. The names of our variable is clear, consistent, and meaningful. You can check out these examples in the Figure 12. All assigned variables are in the correct scope and their type is consistent. All casting operations are appropriate. There are no unused or redundant variables in our implementation. Now let's look at the data and memory. All statements in our code operate on the correct data. Java's built-in garbage collection can handle memory deallocation for us. The storage is efficiently used in our code. And we did not check the completeness and validity of our input arguments and imported the data. We will add the testing statements before the next milestone. Okay. So let's talk about the last section, error handling. In our code, all written values are processed properly. We use the try catch to handle errors, but not error returns. And we did not implement timeouts or error traps for external device accesses. We will implement this functionality before the next milestone. In our current implementation, we did not access external files. In our code, all devices are left in the correct state when the program terminates. For example, in Figure 13, this disconnect function, we always call this function to close a socket when the program terminates. We did not have handle files in our implementation, so that we do not need to worry about the state of files. The use of system I/O mechanism is consistent in our implementation. We use the buffer writer and the buffer reader to read and write data from the socket. You can see this example in the Figure 14. And we did not check input values for reasonableness before use. We will do this before the next milestone. In our code, all errors are detected and handled. However, the process will not continue in this development stage. We'll add this feature before the next milestone. And in our code, we follow the error handling conventions and use the try-catch block to handle errors. However, some blocks did not differentiate different exceptions. We will optimize our error handling before the next milestone. And we did not implement the recovery from potential hardware faults. We will also do this in our next milestone. And we have some redundant code in the move to point class. I have talked about this before in the previous slides. And there are no leftover stubs and test routines in our code. We have some hard-coded constant integers. For example, in Figure 17, you can see that our IP address and port number are hard-coded. We will refactor this part in the next milestone. All uses of indexes and subscripts are not out of bounds. We did not use pointers in our implementation. And in our code, all loops, branch, and logic constructs are correct properly nested and complete. Okay, that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you.